So yeah, no, it is interesting that that diagnostic and monitoring get a very small part of this, but frankly, it's actually outsized of its importance, because realistically, in the age of targeted therapies, you're going to need answers about what your targets are very quickly, faster than next generation sequencing, especially. And as minimal residual disease or measurable residual disease becomes more and more important in monitoring patients and even endpoints of trials, you need sophisticated, very accurate ways to measure that, especially if you're going to get the FDA to buy in on using those as endpoints. And I think that this is a platform that is potentially more accurate than conventional PCR, especially at low target levels. And it's very flexible. And I think that it's going to be, I would guess, replacing most types of other PCR steps in the future. I think it has enough advantages that it will probably, take over fairly soon. What needs to happen really is that, right now the system can only do 2 targets or a targeted control at the same time, because at least the Bio-Rad system, because only has ways to do 2 different colors. Because when you amplify these to target in the control gene, you're using different color dyes, so you can actually do quantitation that way, or yes or no that way. And what you really want to do is to have multiplex where you can do multiple targets over time, because I think how this is going to be used in the future, especially in a disease like AML, is you'll do something like next generation sequencing at diagnosis to see which of 25 mutations that they have. And most AML patients will have an average of about 3 mutations at the time of diagnosis. And then instead of doing the very expensive, not very sensitive next generation sequencing as follow-up, you would know what those 3 targets are, and then you would do something like digital PCR on those 3 targets as you follow therapy down the road. So what we need is basically new technologies that make you able to do more targets simultaneously. And that's being worked on by various companies. QIAGEN has one now, Bio-Rad will soon. So that will be the next thing, is to be able to do multiple targets quickly. And then after that, it's basically getting it out there. There's always going to be a problem because, academic labs, we can kind of retool fairly quickly. I mean, that's kind of what we do. But for major commercial clinical labs, it takes a lot more to get them to move from a new assay, especially if you want it CLIA approved, because that's the whole costly enterprise. And so there's going to have to be enough momentum from research studies and academic studies to create a demand by pharmaceutical companies and hospitals and stuff to make the bigger commercial labs change, because that's going to be a slower process just because of the costs taken on and all the paperwork and the like to get things up to CLIA standards. But it'll happen. It always does.